In this course, quite often you're going to have to combine these channels and brackets and a bunch of different metal pieces to build your robot. Okay? It doesn't come pre-built. You have a box of components, and in this course you're going to be building robots to meet different tasks. So we're going to look at the common way to attach two components. This way is recommended when you're first starting off, because as you make mistakes, you don't want to have to go back and unscrew more and more screws because it'll take more time. So when you're first starting off in this course, I'm going to recommend that all joints are secured with 3 screws only. And then if you go to more of a task-driven robot and you're happy with your prototype, you can go back and add more screws. You can go up to 4 or 5, but at no point in time should each of these holes be filled with screws. Okay, 3 is commonly enough to do the job. 4 and 5 can work if you have a section of your robot that has a lot of torque or force applied to it. Okay, so let's talk about these pieces first of all. Our screw pattern here, we have 8 screw holes on all of our pieces. Okay, this allows us to line things up parallel, perpendicular, or even at an angle. Okay, so we line up our pattern. For this video, I'm going to align these parallel. Okay, so both in the same direction. And what I'm going to do is sort of look at it and say, do my holes match up? They do. And I'm going to take a screw. Okay, in this video, I took a 1/2 inch screw just because it's a little easier to do under the camera. But in real life, you take the smaller screw. So you're going to pop it through the top, okay, with both hands holding the parts together. Then take your thumb and sort of hold the piece together that you want to screw together. Okay, so you can see I'm holding everything together in one hand. I'm then going to take the nut. Okay, the hex nut, it has a lock washer on it already. I'm going to take it, place it on the bottom, and screw it on. Oops, and screw it on to start tightening this. Okay, so and I'm just going to spin it. Okay, remember lefty loosey, righty tighty, spinning it in a clockwise direction or to the right. And that's not going to get it all the way tight. As you can see, this still moves. But that's okay because I just want to get it so that it holds it all together. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the next screw. Pop it in. Okay. Go to the bottom side, put the nut on. And at this point in time, if you're building a robot, 2 is enough to hold it so that you can sort of place it, make sure everything fits, test fit it, make sure you're happy with what you've just chosen. And then before you actually put it on your robot, go back and add that 3rd screw. Okay, so I'm going to add the 3rd screw here. I'm going to reach under the bottom, screw on that nut, get it started, and screw it down. So you'll notice I place my screws in a triangular pattern. This is a really great pattern to use. It keeps things nice and tight, keeps things from rotating, and it also keeps things from torquing off. Okay, so or on the horizontal plane of where the metal meets up. So at this point in time, you don't really need your wrench. Okay, you don't need your wrench to tighten up the screws. You can just simply take your finger, place it against the lock nut, and then take your hex driver, your yellow and black screwdriver, place it on the top. And while you hold the nut down here on the bottom, rotate to the right. Usually you only need about 1/4 to 1/2 of a turn, and that really tightens up because that lock washer bites into the metal. You don't want to do this too tight because then it's really hard to get these off. Just a 1/2 turn is usually enough. So if we look here, there's a 1/2 turn, and now this is really stuck together. Okay, we have these bound together very well. Our components ready to be placed on a robot. Okay, if you go ahead and use this on the bottom, right like that, and torque it really tight, more than a 1/2 of a turn with this hex driver, you're going to find that that lock washer bites into your metal, and it's probably not going to show up here on the video, but here I can see that a previous student really tightened this because the lock washer actually bit into the extruded aluminum. Okay, and over time that'll break down the lock washer or the lock nut. It'll also start to break down the metal. Okay, so we don't want to do that. 1/2 a turn with your finger on the back and with the hex driver is enough to secure your parts.